Welcome to Mr. and Mrs. Wrestling.
I'm Steve.
And I'm Mare, and we're breaking down the world of pro wrestling.
From the eyes of a smart fan.
And a casual fan, and everyone in between.
Whether you're a lifelong fan
or just getting into it,
you've got a ringside seat with us. Welcome back to another edition of the Mr. and Mrs. Wrestling podcast, where every week this summer, we're shining the spotlight on wrestlers who are grinding it out, stealing shows, and building the future of professional wrestling one match at a time.
That's right. Every championship started with someone loading up their gear bag, hitting the road, and betting on themselves. This series is all about those stories, and this week's guest has been making her mark everywhere she goes.
Joining us today is the Suplex Sweetheart, Isana. If you've been following the independent wrestling scene, there's a good chance you've seen her competing for promotions like CabaRestle, Northeast Championship Wrestling, Renegade Wrestling Alliance, Top Rope Pro, Pure Vanguard Wrestling, and New England Ring Gladiators. Every stop has been another opportunity to prove exactly why more and more fans are talking about her.
We're going beyond what happens between the ropes. We want to hear about where the nickname, the Suplex Sweetheart, came from, how she first fell in love with professional wrestling, the sacrifices that come with chasing this dream, the lessons she's learned along the way, and where she sees her career heading next.
We'll talk about upcoming matches in New Bedford, Mass, July 25th, at Renegade Wrestling Alliance on August 8th, and what it takes to keep climbing in one of the most competitive industries there is.
Whether you've followed Isana from day one or this is your first introduction to the Suplex Sweetheart, you're in for a fantastic conversation.
So settle in, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and join us as the Summer Indie Spotlight rolls on.
This is the Mr. and Mrs. Wrestling podcast, and we're proud to welcome the Suplex Sweetheart, Isana. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
This is thrilling. This is our first women's wrestler, everybody. If you've been a fan from the start, you know it's been a lot of guys on here, but we are so honored and happy that you'd be our first women's wrestler. So thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, no, that honestly, it's an honor, and it's also super exciting to be the first woman wrestler to be on your podcast. Like, that's just super cool for me. So I love being first. Yeah.
Yes. So for our fans that might just be meeting you for the first time, who is the Suplex Sweetheart Isana?
So the Suplex Sweetheart Isana is a professional wrestler, obviously. But really my focus is mostly on kind of girl power and strength. I do a lot of strength moves in the ring. My moveset is very power based. Like my main thing in wrestling is showing people that you can do whatever you set your mind to as long as you're willing to work for it. I'm especially trying to show that to young girls that are, I have a lot of fans that are like anywhere from like there's one fan I've had since she was 4 years old, Michaela, and she's basically grown up watching me, and I've always wanted to like show her that like if she wants to do something, she can do it as long as she just applies herself and keeps trying. For example, for me, wrestling, I'm not a natural. It did not come naturally to me at all.
Yeah.
So it's something I really had to grind out for a long time, but I never gave up. I kept trying, I kept fighting, I kept improving, and I definitely took the long road, but I got there, and I want to show girls that that's possible.
I mean, we are all about girl power. I mean, we have one son and one daughter, and we try to instill in both of them that, like, if there's something you want to do, you can do it. Like, nothing is off limits. But it is especially exciting to see women in wrestling that really believe in that message for little girls and things like that. Like our daughter of the two kids, she's the one that's gonna like throat punch you. You know what I mean? So for her to be
My
able
kinda
to
kid.
see, yes, for her to be able to see people that are, kind of pointing that energy in the right direction, I think is huge. So
Yeah.
that's awesome that you're all about that message.
Absolutely.
So, speaking of the message, empowering girls, which is awesome, and we need more people in the world that want to do that. What made you want to go down this road into professional wrestling?
So I tell people this all the time, and it's just a fun story. I hated wrestling when I was a kid. I thought it was stupid. I called it soap operas for men, and quite frankly, I'm not entirely wrong. But I remember a part of it was because my first exposure to wrestling was not that great. There was a kid in 5th grade, and I had a massive crush on him, and he was a huge fan of Stone Cold Steve Austin, always wearing 316 shirts. I was like, "Well, I'll check out this wrestling thing, and maybe I can, chat with him about it, and I can strike up a conversation and get to know him better." So, the channel that wrestling was on, I think it was Fox 64 at the time, didn't come in very well. We didn't have cable, so, my options were limited, but I tried watching it, and I remember turning on the TV, and the first thing I see is Rikishi giving someone a stink face.
Uh,
And I was just like, "Well, that's enough of that," and I just turned it off, and that was that. But then I discovered indie wrestling. I did not grow up watching wrestling. My dad didn't watch it, my mom didn't watch it, but a lot of my friends, when I got older, my late teens, early 20s, were doing like backyard wrestling and stuff. And some of them started to go pro because after that, when they got a little older, they finally got trained and stuff. And so I remember going to it was Renegade Wrestling Alliance, my first show. My friend, one of my best friends for years, a friend that I was 15 years old, Crimson Alchemia. He only wrestles for CabaRestle now occasionally, but he and Sean Leader, who you may have heard of, he wrestles all around New England now. They were having a barbed wire ladder match, and I was at a party the night before, and I heard about this, and I was like, well, I gotta see this because I knew them both. And I was like, "Yeah, I can't miss this." So, a very hungover me walks into a hole in the wall in North Providence the next day, and I watch indie wrestling for the first time, and it was mind-blowing. Like, obviously, I saw the match. It was a good match, but I also got to see a lot of other names that you've probably heard of. Mike Grassa, it was either his first or second ever match that he ever had in independent wrestling. I got to see T Phoenix wrestle. I got to see, not that show, but a couple shows later, I got to see Nick Marchand wrestle. All people that found their beginnings in RWA, and I was instantly hooked. Not necessarily because of what wrestling was, but it's different to see it in person and in front of you than it is to see it on TV. Like, on TV, you're like, "Yeah, whatever, big, massive dudes doing big, massive jack dude things." And then I'm seeing indie wrestling where these people are, like, real people. Like, they go home and they go to work the next morning, and they're doing superhuman things, and that was so cool. So I started doing ringside photography for RWA, and then I started picking up other companies that I was doing ringside photography for. And then eventually one of my friends convinced me to go to a training. And the rest they say is history because here I am 10 years later.
so, since you're not somebody that grew up watching wrestling, I'm sure your story is going to be a little bit different because you are a fan of the indies. Has there been somebody in your career that has been your biggest influence?
I would have to say a huge any female wrestler that isn't tiny. There's a couple. Lufisto is one. She changed wrestling history in Canada when she got intergender wrestling to finally be allowed to happen. I actually did get the honor of wrestling her at a show. It was a small hole in the wall show. I think there was probably 20 people in attendance at the time. But she was great. She beat the crap out of me, but she was great. But it was really just an honor to be able to like interact with her and get to know her a little bit. Um, and Lufisto was a big influence. Tara Calloway, down in Jersey, she was a big influence very early on. Because she's not a slight girl, but she carries herself wonderfully, and she's a genuine badass. So those were two names that really formulated. Mickey Knuckles is another one. Obviously, she does mostly deathmatch wrestling now, but Mama Mickey has always been an absolute badass in my eyes, and I'm like, if Mama Mickey can do it, I can do it. Especially considering, she has kids, like she has a whole life, and then she goes out and bleeds for people. And I don't think I could ever bleed as much as she does for people, but I respect the game. I absolutely respect the game. But they're all like these big tough chicks that just go out and kick butt. And now we got people like Sammy Chaos, who I've had the honor of wrestling twice and want to wrestle way, way more. I love Sammy Chaos. She's wonderful. And we got people like Big Juicy, who we had talked about a little bit beforehand. Who was no, I mean, at this point now she's no longer Big Juicy. She's like medium juicy. She's lost a ton of weight. But she's still, there's so many amazing women on the independents. There's also, some of the bigger names. Bull Nakano was a huge influence for me coming up, growing up in wrestling. Bull Nakano, Awesome Kong also, like just this chick that just didn't take no for an answer, could genuinely kick your ass. So it's been mostly like just the chicks that aren't slight and slender and doing all these flippy things that I could never do, but they're just gonna pick you up and throw you, and I love that. I eat that stuff.
Juicy is in. It's all right to be a little, little
Absolutely. You need a little meat on the bones.
Exactly.
Now, I absolutely love the name, the Suplex Sweetheart. I think it's awesome. I think it fits you well. For those who haven't seen you perform, how would you describe your in-ring style to them?
So the in-ring style is definitely power moves. I am, as I said, a big fan of picking people up and throwing them around. And especially with a lot of the women that I wrestle lately, a lot of them are the slight flippy ones. My current 3 wives are pretty badass, and I don't get to throw them as much as I would like to. A wife in wrestling, for those that don't know, is someone when you work someone over and over and over again, you eventually they say you're married to someone. So I have 3 wives in wrestling right now, and they're absolute joys to work with. Selena Heke is my primary wife. And I do get to throw her around a little bit. She's got me in height, but she's a slender one, so she's relatively easy to toss. Killa J is another one that I've wrestled a bunch recently, out of Connecticut. And she's a badass. She hits like a Mack truck. She's great. I honestly enjoy getting punched in the face. I don't know why, but I do.
For punishment.
A little bit, yeah. I was like, maybe I'm a bit more of a masochist than I realized. But, and then Elle Valentine, who is a joy. And she's my wrestling wife, but she's also my wrestling daughter. I helped train her, so I gave her her first baby steps in wrestling. I taught her how to do the Northern Lights suplex, which is my pride and joy because she took it and she ran with it, and she's going to Canada next week. So, obviously, I did something right with her. I mean, she did something right with her too. So, but yeah, so my moveset is very power based. Um, I'm working with people like Sarah Jade, who is tiny. I can pick her up and throw her like a pizza. Um, I mean, don't get me wrong, she'll hit me back. She'll hit me back hard, but I've worked with her a lot, and obviously suplexes are the basis of it. I am bottom heavy and bottom strong. So, picking people up, upper body strength, still working on these guns a little bit, but the lower body, I can pick it up just about anybody at this point. So, if once I get you on my shoulders or I hook you for a suplex, you're going for a ride whether you want to or not. So the suplex, I usually end up hitting at least one suplex every match I'm in. Be it the back suplex, the snap suplex. If we're having fun and you're brave, the exploder suplex. So there's a lot of picking people up and putting them down firmly.
What's your favorite suplex?
That's a tough one. They're like my children. I don't know if I can pick just one. I mean, the easiest one would be the snap suplex because I can hit that on anybody. I guarantee you, there's not a soul if you don't. You could be 300 pounds, 400 pounds, 500 pounds. I could probably still hit a snap suplex on you. And there's also like the exploder suplex is really fun. A lot of people are pretty scared of it, but it is really fun to hit. I get to send people flying. Right now, I usually have been using the perfect plex as a finishing move. Because once I hook that in, there's no escape. You're on your back, and then I have you hooked, and it's all over after that. So those would probably be my top three, I guess we'll say.
Yeah. I feel like you would do really good in CrossFit if you don't already do CrossFit because it's a lot of like picking things up and putting them down. And like, it's a lot of like power moves and I mean, there's a bunch of different elements to it, but for, like thick and juicy girls like ourselves that also like to be strong and powerful, like CrossFit really does it for me when it comes to that sort of thing. I feel like you would be a natural at that if you don't do it already. Do you already do it? I don't
No,
know.
I've never tried CrossFit. I do a lot of lifting. I do a lot of like traditional, not necessarily Olympic style, but and not necessarily bodybuilder. I do mostly strength, like deep strength training.
Yeah.
So I do like my usual compound strength training, bench, squats, deadlifts, military press. I do have a home gym, so that helps.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah. Unfortunately, my ceiling is low, so my military press is only like up to here. But that actually, I feel like it makes it harder because I can't lock out.
Yeah.
um, so uh, so yeah, but I have a rack and a deadlift setup and everything, and I have an elliptical, so it's a pretty good setup.
I feel like at this point we should just bite the bullet and get the home gym because every couple of years I'm like, I'm gonna collect this new piece of equipment, and he's always like, okay, yes, whatever you want.
I mean, it's great because going to like public gyms can be a nightmare. When I first
Yeah.
started, I was doing Planet Fitness, and like I was working with a strength coach, and he would always be like, "Oh, can you do that?" I'm like, "Nope, they don't have the equipment for that," or "Nope, the equipment is taken already." So being able to like customize, like obviously I don't have a lot of space. It's a small room that I have my gym in. So like farmers walks are a little difficult.
Just like go outside, walk around the yard.
Yeah, basically that's what I got to do. So if it's raining out, obviously I'm probably not doing a farmer's walk that night, but that's what kettlebell swings are for. So we'll get there one way or another. There's always options.
Yeah.
So you talked about, being in wrestling for over 10 years. Was there a time or a match where it feels like everything clicked for you and, made you go, yeah, this is what I should be doing?
So there's been a couple times that I've quote leveled up in wrestling. I had a feud with Ryan Kellen Thomas at RWA, and he has been wrestling for I think at this point almost 20 years now. At the time it was roughly 15, um, give or take, and he brought a lot out of me, and really pushed me and made me start to realize what I was capable of because I'd been doing a lot. At that point, I was feeling a little lost. I had a lot of people telling me, "Oh, you should do this," and other people saying, "Oh, you should do that." And it wasn't coming from within. I was being tugged in a bunch of different directions, and everyone was like, "Oh, you should hit like 13 suplexes in a match." I'm like, "That sounds a lot." And then other people were like, "You should only hit one suplex in a match," and I'm like, "That sounds like too little." So I wasn't really comfortable with what I was doing. I was wrestling a lot at that point, because this is like 20 late 2017, early 2018. I was wrestling fairly frequently. I was wrestling at XWA. I was training at XWA. I was wrestling at XWA. I was wrestling at RWA consistently. I was doing House of Bricks. I was doing NECW. Like some of the bigger companies had started to take notice of me. It was things were kicking off. And I felt so lost and I didn't know what I was doing. And then I had this feud with Kellen, and he really helped. Like I trusted him. I trusted that he wasn't going to kill me. So it really helped bring a lot out of me. The viciousness that I needed, like I wasn't afraid that I was going to break him. So I was able to be vicious, if I needed to be. I also, you know, there was just so many aspects of it. And I definitely feel like I leveled up there. I also had a feud with Shay Cash at RWA, and I really leveled up in that one. That one he really made me start like how, because he's a bigger guy. So for once I wasn't the bigger person in the match. Well, when I was wrestling guys, usually we were about equal size, give or take. But he was a big dude. Still is. Although now he's slimmed down and is getting jacked, and it's a little weird to see because, like, goddamn. But um, yeah, I had to like really like do stuff that I wasn't entirely comfortable with yet. Like we did a superplex. I was terrified. I thought I was gonna kill him. I had to do dives on him, and I'd never done dives before. I'm not a diver. Like I am. I stay on the ground. um, and so, but I was going to the top rope and jumping on him, like trying to just to get him down. And we told some amazing stories. Honestly, one of my favorite matches of all time was against him. And he's really brought a lot out of me. And recently, I feel like I've leveled up again. The past like 2 years or so, I've been training at the Lockup in Fall River and with Brutal Bob Evans and Ilya Markopoulos, and they have really helped me hone in on, like keeping the ring rust away because I was definitely getting rusty because there was a point in time where I wasn't training, at least not regularly because I didn't really have any place to train regularly. And then also like helping me hone in on like what I want to do. Like they're not telling me, "Oh, you should do 13 suplexes or only one suplex." They're like, "What feels right for you?" And then they'll give me feedback on that. Be like, "Okay, this part worked. Try adjusting this." They won't tell me how to adjust it. Just adjust it. Um, so I mean, well, Bob will sometimes tell me how to adjust it. But Ilya especially has been a great coach. Like Bob's a great coach too, but Ilya has really been probably one of my favorite coaches I've had since I've trained with Matt Taven. They have a very similar training style. And I can't recommend the Lockup enough. Like it's an island of misfit toys, but like the friendships I've made there have been great. And they are really pushing me because now I'm in a position where I'm helping teach the younger kids. And that is forcing me to improve myself endlessly. Um, I just have to constantly make sure that I have my stuff right so I'm not teaching them wrong stuff.
Yeah.
So, that has made me level up, and right now I'm definitely having some of the best matches I've ever had.
When it comes to health and wellness and, in wrestling, I feel like that's always on the forefront of everybody's mind. Everybody needs to work out, everybody needs to train. We always have a questionnaire that we do with our guests, and one of your high priority items was mental health. And so usually in my experience with wrestlers, that's not really something that's on their radar in terms of like what's important to them, whether or not they have their own mental health journey. And it has become such a big conversation, not just in professional wrestling these last few years, but in general. For you, why is this topic so important?
So, for me, it's something that I've always struggled with. I've been diagnosed with bipolar type 2, which means I have all of the fun of the depression with none of the fun of the mania. I just go from like normal to I want to die and then back to normal. And it's been with me the first suicide note I wrote I was 9 years old. So I've always struggled with mental health. And when I was like 17, 18 years old, I went through the motions of dealing with it a little bit. I did some therapy. It didn't work out very well. My therapist was not great. I got on some medication that caused me to gain a lot of weight. It wasn't really controlling the health issues, so I ended up dropping that, and I just raw dogged it for years. Honestly, up until about 2018, mid to late 2018, I bottomed out. I was wrestling all the time when I had an eating disorder at this point. I was, when I wasn't wrestling, I was working out. Like I was literally working out for 2 hours a day, and then I was going to training for 3 hours a day. I was doing this all on 900 calories or less a day. I got real skinny, and everyone thought that I was in great health, but I wasn't. And my mental health was just plummeting. I would mess up, I would have a bad match, and I would just be like, "Nope, I want to die. This is terrible," and I would just spiral until my next match. Which, if it was good, then I'd be fine. If it was bad, I'd be worse. And I didn't know how to control it, and I was really starting to. I ended up having to not being able to like take criticism in class at training. Because if I didn't do something perfectly, it was this like in my head, there was this huge disaster. So I ended up bowing out of classes, and I started taking a lighter wrestling schedule. And finally, I went and actually got help that I needed. I found a really good psychiatrist. I found a really good therapist. And I finally took control of it. And it took me probably until like mid 2019 for me to start leveling out. That like just the process of getting through that initial like, starting medications, finding the right medication, that was a challenge in and of itself. But now I found a great medication that helps me not want to die, which is awesome. I realized it was working when I was behind one of those log trucks and I didn't want Final Destination to happen. I was like, yeah, all right, this is
That's
working.
great.
I'm gonna switch lanes now. Therapy. I'm still in therapy. I'm still taking the medication, and I feel like people need to talk about that more. I remember I did a seminar with Dave Lagana, who was a writer for WWE and a couple other of the bigger name companies. And he talked a lot about prioritizing mental health. And this is when I was still training at XWA, right before I lost control of mine. And I remember that really hit home for me a lot. And it probably led me to getting the help I needed. But in professional wrestling, like it's such a competitive nature, you really don't have room to slip up. Um, so a lot of people don't prioritize their mental health, and they're working out, they're eating healthy, sure, but they're not taking care of their brains as much as they should. And maybe what they think is they're eating healthy, maybe they think they're working out a right amount, but they're actually doing more damage to their bodies because of their mental health, and they're overcompensating for it. And I see a lot of people burning out. I see a lot of people that have come and gone in wrestling because of because they never prioritize mental health and taking care of themselves. And it's a very cutthroat world, unfortunately. There's politics involved, a lot of politics, and it can get really ugly sometimes, and it can definitely take a toll on your ego. um Especially because you have like this mass of people with egos. We're all smushed together and we're literally fighting each other. um so it's really like when you put all of that together, it's historically been bad for people, and it's only recently been where people like AJ Lee talking about her struggles, and a couple other people discussing their struggles with mental health. But it's only been like the past 5 years at most, really. I mean, we're not still in the 80s and and 90s where like it was just snort some cocaine and and feel better. But we're still coming out of that dark period where if there's also a lot of toxic masculinity in it, where if you don't feel great, you don't talk about it. You just bury it and hope it goes away. And I think that's something that we really need to overcome, because it's a big deal. Like I almost killed myself a couple times because of wrestling. And I'm very glad I didn't, because I wouldn't be here on this podcast talking to y'all. But I wouldn't be having some of the best matches in my life either. So, it's important that we talk about it more, we destigmatize it, and let people really come to terms with the fact that it's okay to not be okay as long as you do something about it. Like there's the mental illness is everywhere, and a lot of people use it as a slur. Oh, he's mentally ill. But the brain is an organ. Like you don't be like, oh, he's intestinally ill. um, so mental health
Right,
is
you're right.
still health. And we shouldn't be ashamed to go out and get medications, get therapy, prioritize our mental well-being, um any more than we prioritize our bodily well-being, because it's all part of our body.
And you talked about how much wrestling asks of the performers, whether that's physically, emotionally, mentally. How do you take care of yourself when things become overwhelming?
Well, I should probably be a bit better at it. But um usually I rely a lot on my friends. I have a good core group of friends, and some family. My brother is also a wrestler. I refer to my house, because I own the house, as Liz's home for wayward workers. We all depend on each other, and we lean on each other. So like when I'm having, like, if I've had a terrible match and I'm like, wow, that was just awful. Like I look like an idiot. Um, I'll go to my friends and I'll be like, hey, like watch this with me, please. And they'll be like, oh, you see, that wasn't bad, and that wasn't bad, and that was pretty cool. And next thing you know, I'm not feeling so bad about the match that I had, and I'm like, you know what? Like this part and this part, yeah, that sucked, but this part was still pretty cool, and I did that cool thing, and the fans reacted very well to this, and all right, maybe I'm not as much of an idiot as my brain is telling me I am. I also definitely have to prioritize self-care. Stuff like, everything from the traditional, good old bubble bath on a Sunday evening to just finding time to spend with my friends and family, then I'm not thinking about wrestling. Um, which can be very difficult because my life is wrestling. I do it sometimes 5, 6 days in a row. Um, but and the days that I'm not in the ring, I'm training, I'm in the gym, or I'm mentally training, I'm watching tape, I'm doing something that's related to wrestling. So sometimes I just need to, like this Sunday, I'm probably going out blueberry picking with my mother. And that's gonna be self-care right there, because it's something that, like, I'm not thinking about wrestling, I'm not thinking about what's coming next. I'm just in the moment and enjoying my life, and picking some blueberries, and I'm excited for that.
Since you started your journey to, better mental well-being, and since you have started to feel better, how do you handle, negativity and criticism now versus when, you were struggling more? It sounds like it made you spiral, but um, it seems like you're in a really healthy place now. So what do you do to kind of handle those things? Because that comes with everything we do.
Yeah, it really does. And it's definitely a lot better now. I think one of the big things I had to realize, and this is something that I literally was just talking to my best friend about today, was that we're human, and humans aren't perfect. And I always expected perfection out of myself for the longest time. One of my mentors in high school once told me, like, you're so afraid of failing that you never even try. And that really, really hit home at the time and for a long time afterwards, because he was right. I was so afraid of failing that I would never even try. And now I'm finally getting to the point Almost too little too late, but I'm finally getting to the point where I realize that failure is just an opportunity to learn. And it's okay to fail, and it's okay to not be perfect. And like, I will do a drill in class, and we'll do something, and Mike and Ilya, for example, just be like, that was the shits. And I'll be like, yep, it sure was, let me try that again. um Instead of like, oh my god, I've disappointed him, my life is over. It's, yeah, no, that sucked, let's try that again, let's see if I can do it better. And that has been a night and day difference. Obviously there are still some people that just think I suck in general. I can't please everyone. But for the most part, I've learned that I have my niche, and I'm good at what I can do. I don't do what I'm not good at.
Yeah.
And yeah, at least not in matches anyway. I'll try anything in class, but almost anything. I can't jump to save my life, but um, um, but criticism is now something, it's really become an opportunity to learn how to
Yeah.
improve, and a shot at trying something again, and being like, all right, no, this time I'm gonna do it better, because I'm gonna take that feedback, and I'm gonna use it.
Awesome. What advice would you give to a young wrestler who's, you know, trying to navigate life, trying to navigate this profession while struggling, mentally, but at the same time, is afraid to ask for help?
I would definitely say the number one thing I tell people all the time is don't give up. Don't give up. Um, is There's always another opportunity, there's always another chance. You can fail a million times, but if it's something that you like, if wrestling is what you really want to do, be it you want, like, I mean, you probably won't make it to WWE, probably. Odds are you won't. Um, but if wrestling and entertaining people and having a blast in a wrestling ring and getting punched in the face is your dream, don't give up no matter how hard it gets. I would definitely tell people always, if you're afraid of talking about, like, if you're struggling and you're afraid to mention it, like, you can't be. You have to tell people, "Hey, I feel like I'm drowning. How can I stop?" And there will be people out there that will help you. Um, Most of them will. Some people will probably use it against you, a handful. But the majority of people have been there too. So there's so many people that are still navigating this incredibly difficult wrestling life, and they're willing to help others, because we're a community, we're a family, Yeah, we punch each other in the face, sometimes a lot. And yeah, we all have that weird aunt or that weird uncle that no one likes, but in the end, we're family. And for the most part, the groups, like, there's some really great people out there. I've been blessed to meet several of them. Um, some of the best people I've ever met in my life, I've met through wrestling. So, shout out to Dave Cole. Also shout out to Paul London, my future ex-husband. He doesn't know we're getting married, but we are.
Okay.
Yeah,
Married
yeah.
and
And divorced. Yeah, he's gonna leave me for some beautiful woman, and I'm okay with that. I'll cherish the time we do have. And also, shout out to Mistress Belmont, who is an old school name. She no longer wrestles anymore, but she was one of the premier female wrestlers when I was coming up. Also a big influence on me. She was strong. She was tiny, but she was strong as hell. And I got the opportunity to wrestle her at NECW several times, and every time was always the most fun. And she's just, those three people are some of the most beautiful human beings I've ever met. And I met them because of wrestling. And anyone that is afraid to speak up about something that is bugging them, you just got to get over that fear. And that can be really, really hard. I get that. That could be so hard because you're like, people are gonna think I'm crazy and they're gonna not want to talk to me and they're gonna avoid me. And that's not really how it is. As long as you take care of what your issues are, or at least try to take care of what your issues are, people are always gonna go to bat for you.
So looking ahead for you, Isana, what's the biggest goal that you still want to accomplish in your wrestling career?
Ooh, yeah. All right. So unfortunately for me, I am not a spring chicken anymore. I am 37 years young.
Okay. All right.
So I don't know how many more years I have left in the game. I'm gunning to go to at least 40. After that, it's gonna be touch and go. We'll see how the knees hold up. They're already cranky. The back has been nearly broken. Didn't quite break it. Came real close though. Um, the neck is crunchy. But I do still have some goals. I really, really want to do more traveling for wrestling. When I first started, like I never wanted to. Well, when I very first started, I wanted to just wrestle with my friends. It was fun. But as I evolved, I realized that I wanted to travel more. And I've done a reasonable amount of traveling, especially for someone that lives in little tiny Rhode Island where we pack a lunch to drive 30 minutes away. Um, so like I've done northern Maine, I've done southern New Jersey, I've done New York. Um, and obviously, both southern and northern New England. Haven't gotten out of the Northeast yet. I still got to hit Pennsylvania, which is a goal.
Whoop, where we are,
Yeah,
but we're
still got to hit
we're from
Pennsylvania.
Massachusetts.
Ah, yes. So yeah, still got to hit Pennsylvania. Really trying to do that by the end of the year this year. I've hit up a couple companies, still waiting to hear back from a few of them. I've got some people that are looking out for me if there's any opportunities. But yeah, if anyone hears of any opportunities in the Pennsylvania area, have gear bag will travel. Um, but I'd also absolutely love to go to England. Everyone wants to go to Japan. I want to go to England. I love catch wrestling. I think it's the coolest thing in the world. Johnny Saint was like when I first saw Johnny Saint, I was like, "Oh my god, this is brilliant." Like it's a little bit funny, it's a little bit hokey, but it's really cool. It's technical, but it's also a little haha, and that's a style that really appeals to me is that like oh, he's bobbing up and down and oh, snap, he's got a wrist lock. How'd that happen? Um and using your body in unconventional ways to do all these technical things I think is super cool. I would love to learn some catch wrestling in England. I also just want to travel the world, but I'll start with England.
So you mentioned, wanting to branch out, getting out of New England, Pennsylvania, England. Is there an opponent that you've seen in around the world that you would love to get in that squared circle with?
Ooh, there's a lot. I really right now the one what's the term I'm looking for here? The one that's getting away at this point, but hopefully not forever, is Abaddon. I would love to wrestle Abaddon.
She
I
does
think they
love
are
me.
absolutely incredible. When I first saw them on the AEW, I was like, "Oh, hell yeah." And I do have a booker that is trying to get them in. They're trying to
Yeah.
figure out a way of being able to afford them
Was
'cause
that the wrong? Did I use the wrong pronouns? Is Abaddon they them?
I believe, yeah, they're
Okay.
non-binary. So,
Oh, good to
I
know.
mean,
I don't want to say the wrong things.
Zombie, so like I'm sure you could be excused. Um, but they're so cool. I love everything about them. Like I follow them on social media and the haters and just they slapbacks to the haters are great. Um I won't even call them clapbacks. They're slapbacks. They're slapping these guys down. It's great. Another person that I will always regret not being able to wrestle because I doubt it's going to happen now, would be Willow Nightingale. I did get to be on a couple shows with her, and she is an absolute doll. But we never did get to share a ring together, before she got snapped up, and I am sad about that. So if I could ever get like a Ring of Honor situation going and be able to wrestle with Willow Nightingale, that would be an absolute dream come true.
Well, Tony Khan, if you're listening, book it.
2 absolute sweethearts, 1 ring. Who's coming out the victor?
My gosh, but you're you're sugar-coated hostility. You could go
I
into that
could
match
be.
as sugar-coated hostility.
I could
And
be, yeah.
I mean, Willow Nightingale's like wrestling sweetheart right now, so
Yeah, she out sweethearts the sweetheart. I'll give her that.
is there a championship at the top of your list?
Well, right now I do hold one. I'm currently the CabaRestle
Tell us.
champion. I have been the CabaRestle champion since, well, I won it on New Year's, lost it briefly, got it back, and now I've been CabaRestle champion for months at this point now, and I don't intend on dropping it anytime soon. Also currently working through the loss of another championship. I was the NCW Women's Champion, a championship that has long eluded me. I got to the finals at NCW for their tournament to bring in the championship, and lost to Becca, and she became the inaugural champion. And then it just eluded me for years, and I finally won it back in November. And then I got screwed and just recently dropped it. So we're gunning to be the first ever 2-time NCW Women's Champion. We'll see if that works. I have some NCW matches coming up this weekend, and then I got a big one coming up on the I don't know if it's going to be a championship match or not, but hopefully I can weasel my way in for the big show. We have our big city rumble at in Dedham at the BFW there, and that is, I believe, not November, August 28th. And that's going to be a big show. And hopefully I'll be able to maybe sneak back into the title picture and get my title back. We'll see what happens. Other than that, a lot of titles are cursed in my opinion. I've held a few women's championships, and 9 times out of 10, I end up wrestling the same person over and over and over and over and over. My first wife, Delilah, we wrestled for the House of Bricks Women's Championship probably 20 times. It was either her or Nashoba Naira. And that was just how it was. It was one of those two every time. Although there was that one time I wrestled Crispin Coles for the women's championship. Never quite figured out how he got in there, but needless to say, he didn't win it, so we're fine there.
Awesome. Let's get into the lightning round. So, favorite wrestler you've seen during your travels of the independent scene?
Favorite wrestler, the first name that jumps to mind right now is Mike Skyros. He's awesome. He's a super cool human being, and he's super cool in the ring.
What's your favorite match you've ever watched?
Ooh, favorite match I've ever watched. I'll give one. This isn't probably my favorite match, but it was a really, really good match. It was Chris Hero versus JT Dunn at Beyond. The first time, not the second time. The first time.
I love Chris Hero.
Oh, he's so good. He's so good.
Favorite post-show meal?
Ooh, favorite post-show meal. Usually when I travel, I try to eat at unique places that aren't chain restaurants. But if I had to have a go-to, it'd probably be I do have a tradition, especially after NCW shows. There's a Taco Bell around the corner from my house, and I will go and I will get a Crunchwrap Supreme, and I will get out of all my sweaty clothes, and I'll usually eat it topless. Just throw on some underwear and eat a Crunchwrap topless. Just, tomatoes on my tits, it's fine.
I mean,
It
the little
happens.
tomato never killed anybody. That's
No,
what they're there for, to rest things on.
exactly. So, Crunchwrap Supreme is usually my if I'm eating something consistently, that would be my post-match meal.
What are 3 words that would describe Isana?
Strong. My first ever moniker was the Perseverance Princess. Just a quick little fun fact there. Perseverance Princess. That was 2016 into 17, and then Suplex Sweetheart became a thing. And third word, got to make a decision. So we got strong, we got perseverance, and maybe a little crazy.
We all could use a little dose of the crazy.
Oh yeah, a little crazy never hurt anybody. Just a little bit though.
Finally, where can fans follow you, support you, and most importantly, what's next for the Suplex Sweetheart?
So right now my Instagram is probably where I'm the most active. Isana_baby. So ISANA_BABY. I post fairly regularly on there. I usually post schedules of where to find me. This summer is packed. I think between June and August I have 14 shows.
Wow.
By the time this show airs, I believe we will be looking at the House of Bricks show will be coming up. That is August 15th in Fall River at the King Philip Yacht Club. That is going to be a really fun show. House of Bricks I'm their legacy women's champion because they only run once a year. They usually do a fundraiser show. So I am rejoining them this year as their women's champion.
What a fantastic conversation with the Suplex Sweetheart, Isana. We covered the journey, the sacrifices, the highs, the challenges, and one of the most important conversations we've had on this podcast, mental health in professional wrestling.
We always say this series is about more than championships and highlight reels. It's about the people behind the characters, and today Isana reminded us that some of the strongest people you see inside the ring are still human beings facing many of the same struggles we all experience.
To Isana, thank you for trusting us with your story. We appreciate your honesty, your passion for professional wrestling, and your willingness to have a conversation that can genuinely make a difference. We know our listeners are going to walk away with an even greater appreciation for everything you bring to the business.
If you haven't already, be sure to follow Isana on social media, check out her upcoming appearances, and support independent wrestling. Every ticket purchased, every piece of merchandise, and every share on social media helps talented performers continue chasing their dreams.
And to everyone listening, thank you for spending part of your day with us. If you enjoyed this episode, we'd love your support. Follow the Mr. and Mrs. Wrestling podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Leave us a 5-star review and share this episode with another wrestling fan. It really helps us continue bringing you incredible guests from across the wrestling world.
Don't forget, our summer indie spotlight rolls on with more wrestlers, referees, announcers, commentators, and personalities from across professional wrestling, each with their own unique story to tell.
Until next time, for Mrs. Wrestling, I'm Mr. Wrestling.
And remember, support independent wrestling, support one another, and never be afraid to check in on the people around you. You never know how much a simple conversation could mean.
We'll see you next time on the Mr. and Mrs. Wrestling podcast.
This is Isana, and I'm here with the Mr. and Mrs. Wrestling podcast. We're here to tackle the real challenges in professional wrestling, both mentally and physically, and we're going to talk all about them.
Stop the music, stop the show, stop everything.
Because we found out something disgusting.
Absolutely disturbing, toxic behavior.
Some of you don't own our merch.
You wake up, you brush your teeth, you hit play on the Mr. and Mrs. Wrestling podcast.
You scream at your phone when he says something ridiculous.
Are you doing it in a regular shirt?
Generic cotton, no personality, no main event aura.
Meanwhile, over at Pro Wrestling Tees.
There are official Mr. and Mrs. Wrestling shirts just sitting there.
Crisp logos.
Elite level comfort.
The kind of shirt that makes people at Raw turn their heads.
The kind of shirt that makes people at Dynamite whisper, okay, they know ball.
You want to be a casual?
Or you want to be part of the movement?
Who brings the heat every week?
Who carries this show?
Whoa, relax.
I said what I said.
Search Mr. and Mrs. Wrestling on Pro Wrestling Tees.
Click it.
Buy it.
Wear it.
And when someone asks where you got it,
you look them dead in the eye and say, main event only.